Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Today's date is September 2nd, 2021. Just a reminder that these meetings are being recorded and uploaded to our YouTube playlist. So when you're attending these meetings, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, which is listed out here in the agenda. If you're watching this from home, we encourage you to come and join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And that's just an opportunity for you to come listen in on what the team is working on, provide any feedback for any of the tools you may have, or ask any questions that you may need help with regarding the tools themselves. We welcome any engagement whatsoever. If you want to just listen in, that's totally fine as well. If you're unable to hang out with us in this meeting, you can find us on the Kubernetes Slack workspace in the Carvel channel. And if you aren't already a member on the Kubernetes Slack workspace, you just need to request an invitation to gain access. And it's usually a pretty quick approval process. If you're not on Slack, you can also find us on Twitter at Carvel_dev. For everyone that attends these meetings, we ask that you please put in your name and any organization that you are representing. This is a way for us just to keep track of who's attending the meetings, and we can keep those lines of communication open. We also ask that if you, your organization is using Carvel, any of the tools in Carvel, to please add a comment to this issue that goes over the different items we would like to know about you and your use case with any of the Carvel tools. It's a way for us to know more about how folks are using it, and for us to, in return, help promote your organization with being listed out here. As far as announcements go this week, looks like we do not have any to discuss. So we'll just move on to status updates. Before we do that, if you have anything you wish to discuss in this meeting, please add that to the discussion topics below. We'll get to it after the status updates. Okay, on to project roadmap. We have a few in the works. Who wants to talk about the kapp-controller private registry authentication?
I'm
Daniel,
happy.
do you want?
Yeah. So as far as the private registry authentication work, kapp-controller has a new feature that was released in version 0.24.0 of kapp-controller, where kapp-controller essentially will integrate with another controller that's under the Carvel tool suite called SecretGen controller. And the gist of this is that it will basically help users who need to authenticate to private registries in order to pull image package bundles or images for actual packages that they will install on their cluster. And it will also be useful for package authors as a way of actually adding in secrets that will then be populated so that things like, for instance, deployments can properly authenticate as part of pulling images with image pull secrets. So the way that this will essentially work is that kapp-controller will be able to integrate with SecretGen controller when they are both installed on the same cluster. Kapp-controller will be able to create placeholder secrets that are then populated by SecretGen controller as a way of more easily basically sharing secrets across a cluster, and as a way of supporting actually authenticating to underlying registries that require authentication. We do have some documentation available on this as well on Carvel Dev on the kapp-controller webpage. So yeah, we'd encourage people to check it out and give us more feedback on smoothing out some of the any feedback that we have or can get on this feature.
Thanks, Daniel. So am I understanding correctly, did this release happen or is it still in the works?
Yeah, this release came out, I believe, last week. So yeah, I wasn't sure if we had covered it in a previous community meeting or not. But yes, it's available in version 0.24.0 for kapp-controller, and then version 0.5.0 for secret gen controller.
You said 24 for?
Yes.
And what was the version for secret gen?
0.5.0.
Okay, on to expert YTT schema as open API schema.
Yeah, so the week before last, we talked about the proposal for this work for YTT in the community meeting, and the proposal has now been accepted. It's still open in a PR. If you go to the Carvel repo, I think it's 193. So you feel free to continue to leave comments on that if you have any. But we have actually kicked off the work this week. So we are, I think, starting with some prerequisites on the existing YTT data value schema functionality, so that we can then like build upon it to export an open API schema from those YTT data value schemas. So yeah, that work has started.
Cool, awesome. Great to hear, Carrie. And then as far as CAP goes, I know this is a few things y'all been working on.
Yep. So this week we actually work towards like showing deprecation warnings when users are using resources that are going to be deprecated and be unavailable in next versions. And other than that, we are working towards ordering resources in a more granular manner, and that's still work under progress, and we hope to have a POC on that soon. Like, for example, let's say there are 3 namespace resources with different namespaces. How it worked so far was that 3 of them will wait for all the namespaces to be created. And what we are trying to do right now is like each resource just waits for its own namespace. And there are a few other examples like this, which we think will improve the ordering significantly. And other than that, we also worked on retrying some errors, which were sometimes caused by like improper network configurations on the host or HCD errors, and which basically caused kapp to error out when it shouldn't. So we just started retrying these errors. So they're like minor enhancements, and we are working towards having more like consolidated milestones. Yeah, that's all from kapp.
Great, thank you so much. Anything else regarding the roadmap?
Not as of now. I think that's something we're working towards right now.
Okay. On to any work outside of the roadmap. Anything to call out in what's in progress that doesn't directly tie to some of the roadmap items?
Hey, Nancy, there's a couple, I'm not sure how to point at them in the backlog, but just some notes real quick. So there's a little bit of K-Build's getting a little bit of love this last week. There's an improvement around how we're managing metadata. Garrett, do you think you can elaborate on that one in a second? And then the other piece is we just got a contribution for integrating I don't know if it's pronounced Basil or Basil. It's the build system as a builder for Kbuild, which is great. It's like yet another option for you to be able to configure and orchestrate your builds to that. That should be landing very soon. So Garrett, on the metadata stuff, what's that about?
Yeah, so we talked about it last week in the community meeting as well, but it's just about passing through the metadata when an image is resolved or built using kbuild, and storing that in an image package lock file so that when it's deployed using kapp-controller or some other way, that image metadata is included in the metadata of the resource. So that story went up for review last week. We got a review on it, and we've been responding to feedback, getting it closer to another review, and hopefully getting it merged. We have a couple things, through the pipeline and in kbuild. So hopefully when these things are through, we can cut a release.
Well, that's some good news. Kbuild getting some love. Anything else regarding the Carvel backlog?
I'm happy to share a bit about the image package backlog. I mean, mainly I'll point out one feature that's being worked on, which is when you work with image package, you want to authenticate to a registry. There's a few ways of doing that today. This week, we've been working on adding a fourth way of basically providing credentials to image package, which is if you're running the image package binary on an IaaS like AWS, GCP, or Azure, and you have the special kind of metadata service credentials thing enabled, meaning, if you're on a VM, you have access to the special metadata service to get authentication credentials for a registry. Image package will automatically do that for you. So just by the pure nature of running it on a GCP VM, assuming it's been configured, it's going to get credentials to, talk to the GCR, to the Google's registry, without having to do any additional configuration or setting environment variables. It just knows it's running on a GCP VM and does all the right calls to get the credentials. It's in draft. It's going through a review now. It just needs some additional manual testing. It's definitely going to make it the next release.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Dennis. Okay, it looks like we have some discussion topics. Nick, do you need me to stop sharing my screen?
No, I don't think so. I was just say, I guess I was talking with Dennis a couple weeks ago, and he gave me a good first issue, actually, in image package to pick up. So I started looking into that, and came across a couple of typos and some bad grammar. So I put in a couple of PRs for those. I hope that's okay.
It's more than okay. It's appreciated. I definitely merged one of them. The other PR, I have to look into it, but it looked like there was maybe a bit of overlap or duplication, but like it could just be I just didn't dig into it enough, but definitely planning on reviewing it and merging it with the second one as well.
Okay.
I do like the word constains. I'm not sure what its definition is, but it seems like it's a word that should exist.
And it was in there twice, so you could tell that was a copy paste error. Or at least I hope it was a copy paste error.
Yeah, like Dennis said, every little bit helps. Thank you. Thank you. We're gardening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Nick. Anything else the team wants to discuss while we're all together? Did I lose my video? There we are. Hi. Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining this week's edition of the Carvel Community Meeting. Again, if you're watching this from home, we encourage you to come and join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And again, it's just a way for you to come get to know the team, bring any questions you have for the team up, anything you need help with. We're eager to get feedback and to help you learn how to use the Carvel tool suite. And with that, thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.